On this episode of Locked On Angels, 8 straight wins followed by 5 straight losses, almost 7 runs per game in the winning streak, and not even 6 runs scored in all of the 5 games that they've lost. So why are the Halos so streaky? We've got an answer for you. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation.
Happy Thursday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we're here 5 days a week talking Angels baseball, Monday through Friday, every single weekday. On today's show, what will Perry Minasian's legacy be when all is said and done? Michael, when is it a good time to let a prospect figure it out in the majors versus sending them down to the minors to figure it out? We're going to get into that conversation. But first, oh boy, let's recap. The Angels lose and get swept by the Yankees. 1-0. 1-0. One measly run. That was a sacrifice fly from like Yusei Kikuchi's worst, quote unquote, inning of the entire game.
Right.
Couldn't overcome it. You had 9 innings to do it. You couldn't do it. Nine innings to put one across the board. Just one. You couldn't do it. Guys, right. Anyone?
Well, Logan O'Hoppe found himself in the same spot that he was in the night before. Runner on, chance to win the game last night. Johnny gets called out on strikes. Now, that final strike was about 9-inch nails off the plate, right? And they were getting a lot of calls off the plate. That was frustrating. So 2 thoughts here, John. One, you and I are on the MLB Fan Council. Got invited to that. Pretty cool. One of the conversations we've had with MLB executives is the conversation about the ABS system, the automated balls and strikes. They have said that players want a 100% guarantee that all calls will be 100%. Right now, it's about 98 to 99%. I say do it because of calls like last night, right? That pitch off the plate, about 1.5 inches off the plate, was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that it ended the game, right? If it was in the 5th inning, maybe we can accept it, right? We'd still be frustrated. But ending the game with a runner on base who's the tying run and having Logan O'Hoppe at the plate, that's frustrating. However, second point, this is the Angels' fault.
Right?
They put themselves in this position. You can't score 1 run. Yeah. You can't move runners over. You can't have productive outs. You can't even get on base. And we're going to share a stat with you in just a moment, what they did after they started so hot last night. But John, frustrating to end the game the way that it was, but Angels, you put yourself in this position.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is the strike zone changed in like the 9th inning. I think Angels Stadium is so old that the whole thing tilted because that's the strike zone moved.
Felt like it. Yep.
What it was calling it a decent game. It wasn't that bad. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, that curveball. Yeah, that's in the zone. What are you talking about?
Benny Hanna's reservation was probably about 10 o'clock that night. So they needed to get out of there, get over a couple of streets down, right? Ridiculous.
Kikuchi played with fire in the first 3 innings. He allowed 9 base runners, 5 walks, 2 were intentional to Aaron Judge. Oh, and Yankee fans from Southern California, you want to see Aaron Judge swing the bat.
I loved that. Walk him every single time. And by the way, the guy sucked this weekend, so that was the only win that we had. He wasn't great this weekend. I love that they walked him, and I love that the fans hated it. It was marvelous for me as an Angel fan.
Yeah, the Yankee fans who live in Southern California with no ties to New York hated it. Yes, exactly. 4 hits from Yusei Kikuchi. Only allowed 1 run because the Yanks stranded 7 through the first 3 innings.
Yeah.
Kikuchi started in the 4th, didn't throw as hard as the first 3 innings, but he had better command. For example, first 3 innings, Kikuchi was throwing his changeup at 88 and his slider at 90. But then in the 4th, he threw the change and the slider between 85 and 88 miles per hour, dialing it back, and it helped him to stay close to the zone, much more effective. So you just wonder, did he come out amped for this one and that sort of thing. From the end of the third inning to the end of the fifth, he retired 8 in a row. Went 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 5 walks, 4 Ks. Not his best outing, but 1 run is all you needed to win this game if you're taking on the Angels' struggling offense right now.
If you haven't heard yet from us, this is why wins and losses, but wins specifically, are so ridiculous in baseball right now, because he pitched so well last night. He should have 1 loss from that Minnesota Twins game where he blew up and should be undefeated for the rest of his starts because he's been that good this season. And John, the offense for the Angels was similar to the Yanks in the first 3 innings. 4 of the first 6 batters reached base for the Halos, but they didn't score. And the reason, because of a double play and then because of a strikeout with runners in scoring position. Taylor Ward is so back to doing what he did before he became the American League Player of the Week. Then the next 3 batters, 2 strikeouts, and 1 ground ball softly to first base with runners in scoring position. John, the first 6 batters of the 4 of the first 6 batters reach. Then the Halos go 2 for 24 from the second inning to the end of the game.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Bloop that Goldschmidt had and then dropped, and then Chris Taylor kind of had a bloop in the 8th. I love this tweet from Jeff Fletcher. He said, "I can't believe that these are the same Angels that I watched just last week."
Can I just say on that note too, I'm glad Jeff Fletcher said that, because this is the way that Johnny Washington needs to be fired today. I'm going to call it right now. He needs to go. And I've been calling for it. And this is a perfect example why. Now, the Angels are going to look at it of 2 minds. They're going to go, well, we had the 8-game win streak and the hitting was good then. So, we just got to stay the course and follow the process, all that all that crap. Sorry, I'm on one right now. Sorry.
Mom's watching.
Yeah, exactly. Stay the course, follow the process. So they'll say that. Well, we just had an 8-game win streak. So, we're going to have our ebbs and flows and our ups and downs. We just got to stay the course. Or someone in the front office, Perry Minasian, is going to go, we just had an 8-game win streak. What the heck are you guys doing now?
Yeah.
And why can't you be consistent with it?
Yeah.
And they're as mad as we are in that front office. Now, I will say it's probably 75%. Well, we'll stay the course and see this one go play it out and have our ebbs and flows. Or it's 25% he's getting fired. So I'm about 1/4 confident that we're going to get word that he's dismissed today.
Right. Now, I've always wondered, why is this team so streaky this year and inconsistent? And then Wayne Randazzo said something on the TV side last night that flipped a switch for me. He said that it's like this team has taken on the identity of Taylor Ward. And Johnny, I don't think he's never been more right. I think he's exactly right. This team is streaky. They guess a lot at the plate, and they haven't been really great on defense. And this is Taylor Ward and what he does offensively and defensively. But here's why they're taking on the identity of Taylor Ward. Because their guy, Mike Trout, can't stay on the field. Their leaders can't stay on the field and lead them. So instead of being a team that follows Trout and his identity, hustle, loyalty, respect, right? Like he's John Cena. Instead of being like Mike Trout, Captain America, right? They have to follow Taylor Ward, who is a veteran and somebody that has experience. And because he's around, he's playing. But the problem is Taylor Ward should never be the team that they emulate, be the guy that the team emulates. He should never be someone that the team emulates. He's a piece on a team.
Yeah.
He is not a leader of a team.
No.
But the Angels turn to him as the de facto leader because they don't have their leader on the field. He's not there. And when he's on the field, he hasn't been that great. And so the team is going to follow whoever is there that's the veteran. And they've just adopted everything that Taylor Ward has done this season, last season. They just copy and paste whatever he does because he's there, he's present, and they're looking to him. Right or wrong, I think Wayne Randazzo hit the nail on the head.
Well, and there's something to be said about being the cleanup hitter in a lineup too, because that's typically where you want that strong hitter in your lineup. And don't get me wrong, he's got the ability to do it, but only when he's good and not guessing and not streaky.
Yeah.
But here's something that I have said in our YouTube comments before in response to an everydayer, but I'll say it on the show right now. Taylor Ward, here's what drives people crazy about Taylor Ward in the outfield when they say he doesn't hustle, he's lackadaisical. I figured out what it is, Mike. Volpe hits that bloop to left field, and he gets a double on it. And I'm watching Taylor Ward pursue this ball. In Taylor Ward's mind, here's what he's telling himself. Well, this is a double. It's obviously a double. So I'm going to take it easy. There's no hustle to try to get to that ball more quickly. Have a play at the plate. It's, well, that's a single. Oh, you know what? That's a double. I'm going to toss it back in. And so it's almost like he's reserving his energy, even though he doesn't need to, because he doesn't give it out there in the outfield. But what's going through his mind is, oh, that's a double. So I'm just going to, make sure he stays at second base. So he does just enough to keep the guy at the base that they earned, because obviously it's a double, right? But not if you're somebody hustling out there.
Right.
Not if you're freaking, Sal Frelick on the Brewers, right? Who robbed Trout of some home runs last year when we faced the Brewers. Like, yeah, it's a double only if you let it be one.
Sure.
Does that make sense? And so tell me if I'm wrong. And the next time you watch Everydayers, watch Taylor Ward. Tell me that's not what's going through his head, because it's like, oh, well, that's a single, so I might as well just, make sure he stays at first. Oh, that's a double. Might as well make sure he stays at second. It drives me nuts. That's what it is.
Well, and it makes it really difficult to watch Taylor Ward out there when the night before Chris Taylor is out there, who I get hasn't been great offensively, and we didn't expect him to be, but he makes the diving catch in left field. And I forgot that Taylor Ward wasn't out there two nights ago. And I'm watching this guy speed to the ball, and I'm going, wait, that's not Taylor Ward. Then he dives and he catches it. I'm like, that's not Taylor Ward, right? And so if you have a quick left fielder in left field, he's cutting those balls off and perhaps gunning it into second base to try to hold them to a single. But I think you're right. Just like Wayne Rendazzo's right. I think you're right. I think in his mind is like, Volpe's fast. This is a double. So I'm going to get this into the shortstop to keep him at second base, instead of saying, this guy's going to test me. I'm going to throw him out at second base. This guy, former catcher,
right?
He's got a cannon for an arm, but never uses it.
No. And
that's what's so frustrating about this guy. It just seems like he's lazy, doesn't really hustle, and he guesses a lot. He's streaky, and that's the whole team. They just follow his lead.
Yeah, it is the whole team. Unfortunately, it is the whole team for the bullpen, who was phenomenal.
Right. They were fantastic. Yep.
Robert Stevenson activated before this game, his long-awaited return to the team. His first time on the active roster since signing that 3-year, $33 million deal in January 2024. Got into this game in the 6th inning. Hey, I feel like Mike Frisch from Super Halo Bros and Locked On Angels said that's probably where he would start when he came back. And there you go. Mike calls it.
Got it.
He hits 98 on his sinkers. He goes an inning, throws 12 pitches, 6 whiffs plus 1 called strike, struck out 2 batters, and got the last guy to pop up. 1-2-3 inning for Robert Stevenson.
Yeah. Then Zephyr John comes in and he pitches an inning, gives up a hit, strikes out 2, including Aaron Judge looking, which was fantastic.
Did you see Zephyr John as they cut to the commercial? You could see Zephyr John's face in slow motion. He's all, I just struck out Aaron Judge.
I love
looking.
That. Yeah. And then Reed Detmers comes in and back-to-back outings for the first time this year, and struck out 3, gave up 1 hit. Last 7 games, John, 8 innings, 1 earned, 5 walks, 11 Ks. So he's getting better.
That's a great line if he's a starter. 8 innings pitch, 1 earned, 5 walks, 11 Ks. He'd probably still lose the game, though, because there's 1 earned run in there.
Exactly. Then Brock Burke comes in, strikes out 2 hitters. John, great starting pitching, great relief pitching, and the hitting can't do a thing. They can't do a thing. They're scoring almost 7 runs a game during the 8-game win streak, and they haven't even scored 7 runs in the 5 games that they've lost.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Johnny Washington, 75% say yes, and 25 say he's got to go. I'm baffled. And I'm not going to be baffled.
No, I'm saying that there's a 75% chance he stays and a 25% chance he
That's
goes.
what I mean.
But
Yeah. I'm baffled because the fact that it's that's going to be the narrative. It's going to be, well, we just got to stick to the process like we did before, right? And what you have right now is a sample size. We were really good to start, terrible for a month, really good for 2 weeks, and now we're back to being terrible. And if that's what you want, guys, this is what you're going to get. This is your team, and this is what your coach is doing to this young team that you have high hopes in and you're building around, and their pillars and all of those things. It's just nonsense right now.
If you want to ruin your young core that you're so excited about, then keep Johnny Washington on the payroll, because that's working out great for you. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, what's Perry's legacy now that he's 5 years in as a GM? We're going to discuss that and have a conversation here in just a minute.
I need a snack. Good grief. I'm tired of this streaky team, right? My streak actually is a good streak. I'm not snacking on junk and nonsense. I'm actually snacking on wonderful pistachios, and you can too by visiting wonderfulpistachios.com. It's the snack that's both delicious and nutritious. It's filled with a good source of protein, and Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. They're packed with fiber, better for you, unsaturated fats to keep you going all day long. You can pick up the no-shell variety, perfect for a grab-and-go snack on busy days. Or if you like opening up the shells, get the in-shell option. They're a classic favorite for John and I when we go to baseball games to watch our favorite team not score any runs. Get snackin' and get crackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, we're 5 years into Perry Minasian being the GM of this team. Here's how the Halos have done over his previous 4 years as the GM. In 2021, they went 77-85. That's a .475 win percentage. Over 2022 and 2023, same exact record, 73-89. And then, as we all know, last year, 63-99, the worst season in franchise history, but not a 100-loss season, technically. And, of course, the record they have currently, not once have they been over 500 to finish the season.
Right. And to give credit to Perry, he has drafted stars like Zach Neto. He's traded for stars like Logan O'Hoppe. His trade deadline deals for prospects, they've actually been pretty strong, right? Luis Garcia for 4 guys, including Matthew Lugo and Ryan Zefferjon. The Carlos Esteves deal, getting Clausen and Aldeguerri. But then, John, there's been a lot of deals where he's made trades that didn't work out, like the terrible trades he made to get Lucas Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez, giving up Edgar Caro and Kai Busch. Now, I know that they were trying to make a push for the playoffs that year with Shohei Ohtani. It just completely fell apart for them. Yeah. But then there's the random signings that he has done along the way too. Mike Moustakas and Chris Taylor and other players that he has brought in that have been really, really frustrating. John, ultimately, the Angels haven't won with Perry Minasian at the helm. And you and I were Perry Minasian supporters, kind of maybe in the neutral category, more maybe like 65%, because of the drafting, because of the young players. We're seeing him work under the realm of Artie Moreno. Here's the sandbox that he's in. And so we're like, okay, he's building something. There's a good core that's coming up. However, John, if he doesn't win this year and the team finishes under 500 for the 5th straight year under Perry Minasian, next year his contract is his final year on the contract. What happens with Perry? Do you think he gets fired? Do you think that he gets re-signed? What's his legacy in your mind, especially if the Angels don't finish at the 500 mark or better this year?
So here's the logical thing I'm going to throw at you first. So Ron Washington's contract is technically, as far as we know, up at the end of this year. Remember, It was a 2-year deal because 1 is disrespectful and 3 is too long, right? Yeah. And Perry Minasian's contract is done after 2026. So I think the logical thing is they both go at the same time. Ron Washington's contract is over. Perry Minasian is let go. You start fresh. But I do not have confidence in Artie Moreno or John Carpino to let that be a smooth transition. They'll do something stupid, like give Perry Minasian his 2026 year, let him hire another manager who won't line up with the next GM, just like we've had over and over and over again. Mike Scioscia was not Jerry DiPoto's manager. He was not Billy Epler's manager. Billy Epler gets Brad Ausmus and then Joe Madden because already wanted him to, right? And then Perry Minasian, this is the first time he's been able to pick his manager in Ron Washington because he got here. Joe Madden and him didn't line up. Phil Nevin was just a placeholder, and because they were going to sell the team and all of that stuff. So the logical thing, Mike, would be to let both tenures end at the same time, meaning Ron Washington is done at the end of his contract, where Perry Minasian gets let go. I'll give you a third option.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're clever enough to think about this. Ron Washington gets one more year so that his and Perry's time ends at the same time. So will they do that? Probably not. They'll probably have an odd and even sort of situation where one guy's gone and the other stays. And then we're in the pattern of, Perry Minasian hired this manager, but the next GM after his contract is over or he gets fired halfway through the season is going to be somebody else's manager and somebody else's GM. I mean, it's just going to be this tired circle that we're all circling the drain of until Artie Moreno sells the team or, something else happens.
Right. I see a lot of conversations about Perry in Angels social media, right? And a lot of people are like, no, this guy needs to go and we need to get a legit GM. Problem is, I don't know if you can get a legit GM with Artie Moreno
not at this salary.
as the owner.
No.
No, not at all. And what he wants to do, right? The only time that I think you can get a legit GM is maybe if you get, who was the former Florida Marlins, the Miami Marlins general manager, female, they let her go.
Kim Ng.
Yes, Kim Ng. She was fantastic. She got the team to the playoffs in Florida with the payroll that they allotted, right? The only difference, though, is it seems like Florida, the Marlins, it seems like they are able to develop some guys better than the Angels are. But the Angels do have a good core of guys. They just need to surround them with more guys. They only have 3 or 4 guys on this roster that are actually really good, and the rest kind of are still figuring some things out or are too old to figure some things out, right? And so I don't know if you can get somebody that is worth anything to come into Anaheim and to be the GM without getting permission from Artie Moreno to spend some money because, again, he said, I'm going to lose $50 to $60 million this year on this team. 50 to 60 million on this team. So I can't imagine him wanting to spend any more money, which, by the way, last year he netted $200 million, according to reports from Forbes. And so I don't know what happened to that resource. In my checkbook, if I'm Artie Moreno, I'm looking at it like if I netted 200 million last year, then this year, if I'm losing 50 million, that means I've netted 150 million in 2 years, right? And so I can go and spend maybe another 50 million and I've netted $100 million, right? How much money do you actually need, I guess, is a whole nother segment. But this is what I think about when I think about fans wanting Perry Minasian out of there. And I get it because he hasn't won. The team hasn't won. The only thing I think he's done really well is the drafts have been good and his trades for prospects have been really good. So his GM career for me, I think, will really be determined by what he does at the trade deadline. And I know it's early to talk about the trade deadline, but if this team is doing what they're doing right now, they need to sell and sell big, and they need to trade a Tyler Anderson and a Taylor Ward and a Kyle Hendricks right? They need to trade those guys, a Kenley Jansen, and get some pieces back. And even if the second half sucks, I think it's important to get some good pieces back. And if Perry can do that, I think that actually gives me a bit more confidence for what this team can do moving forward in the future.
I think the hardest thing about this discussion is we have to compare Perry Minasian to what came before him in Billy Epler and Jerry DiPoto.
Yeah.
And of those three, Perry Minasian has had the most success in terms of the kinds of players that we're getting into the minor leagues, infusing this organization with talent. We haven't stripped the minor leagues of all of our talent, right? Other than, trading Edgar Caro and that sort of thing. And now he's, killing it for the White Sox right now. And he's playing almost every day. But that's the problem is Perry looks good compared to those two. And he has done some good things. But when it comes at the major league level, Mike, he's under the restrictions of Artie Moreno. He makes these random signings. We got to bring in another veteran. We got to have a veteran presence. And like we said the other day, I'm so sick and tired of having that conversation.
No more presence.
No more veteran
right?
presence, right?
Performance. I need performance.
And so all of that to say, I think it's a mixed bag when it comes to Perry Minasian. I don't think you can be like, yeah, he was a great GM, or, oh, he sucked. It's 50-50. And you can have your opinions about him, but at the same time, it's nuance. There are things that are good because he's here, things that are terrible because he's here, things that are bad because he's here. I think the good here is Zach Neto, right? Like that's, he picked him at number 13, and he's probably the best player in that draft, in that first round of the 2022 draft, right? So all that to say, it's 50-50. There's nuance to it. You can't decide, whether he sucks or he's terrible or he's great or he's good, because there's all of that across his legacy. And I think that's what it's going to be come the end of his tenure, whenever that might come.
We've had a few everydayers reach out to us and ask us, hey, man, like, shouldn't Kyron Paris try to figure it out in the minor leagues? Or, hey, do you guys think that Matthew Lugo should figure it out in the major leagues? A lot of everydayers have been asking, like, hey, when is it time to send someone down? And when is it time to bring someone back? Which I think is a great question, right? Going to develop at the major league level? Or are you going to develop at the minor league level? How can you determine that? And so John and I put some thoughts together, and we're going to answer that question with 4 questions. And John, I think the first question is probably the most important question, but all of them have value, and I think answer, when should you leave a guy at the major league level to develop versus when should you have a guy go back down to the minor leagues and have him work on some things? So why don't you start us with question number 1 to answer the question that we just asked?
Yeah, you got to ask yourself 4 questions in order to answer that. And the first one is, why is the player on the major league roster? There's different reasons for a prospect to be called up. Maybe you have a roster need. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe they're on a hot streak. Maybe there's pressure from fans and the media. Christian Moore, I think, is a good example of that.
Yeah.
People want to see him in the bigs. There might be the case that they're genuinely ready to be on a major league roster. So it's important to know what the intention is, because that sets the tone for the expectations. For example, Zach Neto was called up in 2023 because the shortstop position and the infield defense in general was a disaster in 2023. Neto was brought up to solidify that position. So a little bit of a takeaway here is you can't judge a prospect fairly if you don't understand why they're up with the major league club in the first place, Mike.
Right. So that leads to a second question. When do you keep a guy at the major league level versus when do you let him marinate in the minor league? Second question is, when do you let a prospect stay and work on some things and maybe struggle through some things? Here's a couple of things to look for.
Your note says snuggle.
I put snuggle in there. Yeah, that's why I stumbled over that. Thanks for throwing me under the bus. So here's a couple of things. Here's when you leave them there. Process over results, right? Are they having good at bats? Are they improving defensively? Signs of adjustment, like, is their K rate dropping? Mm-hmm. Are they making better swing decisions? Their mental toughness, their body language. Are they competing? Are they learning? Like, here's a basic example. A player hitting 190, but lowering their strikeout rate and increasing their hard contact. That's not failing. That's growing, right? Mm. So as a fan, you should keep an eye on K percentage, walk percentage, and hard hit rate before judging a prospect by maybe just their batting average and what you're seeing with your eyes.
Yeah, it's essentially, where do they start and where do they begin and where are they now? Yeah, and have things been improving? So when is it time to send a prospect down? Well, you have to look for the indicators that say his time at this level is hurting more than it's helping. So, for example, you see somebody with 100+ plate appearances. They haven't made any adjustments. Their confidence is clearly eroding. Defensive struggles are compounding. They're having a harder time out there. Maybe they have like a less aggressive approach, or they're not enjoying being up at the big club. They're not having fun. Kyron Paris, to me, might fall into this territory, especially when it comes to the adjustments part of things. Now, I did feel like toward the end, before they sent him down, that things were adjusting, but I think a huge part of that, Mike, is playing time. And if he's not getting the everyday reps that he needs because he's the 4th outfielder, he's, struggling at the plate in the majors, he's not going to get the time that he needs. So the little takeaway here is failure is part of development, but knowing when to pause on it, that's the key.
Yeah. Final question. When do you keep a player here? When do you let him go back down the minor leagues? What's the competitive window for the team currently, right? Is the team rebuilding versus contending? What's the pressure on the manager or the front office? Is there alignment there? Is there a good system in place for development? Where will they develop better, right? For whatever player you're talking about. For 2025, for the Angels, the question that they have to ask is, are we in a position to let guys figure it out? Problem is that the beginning of the year, there's always this, we're running down the West.
We're competitive.
We're going to the playoffs. We're competitive, right? And now the conversation is got to stay the course. We got to continue to, execute. We got to, right? Like, and I would say as a fan, we're in a position to let guys figure it out again. That's where we're at. Instead of trying to bring in a Chris Taylor, I'd rather see Kyron Paris figure it out at the major league level, because this guy showed that he had some flashes of understanding what he could do at the major league level. He'll probably crush it at the minor leagues. Maybe perhaps that gives him confidence, brings him back. But I would rather see guys figure it out at the major league level right now, because this team at best is a 500 team, and a 500 team isn't going anywhere. And this is a season where you can develop them, because, John, if their window is 2026, then you need the guys that are going to help you win in 2026 to get some major league experience in 2025.
I think the issue is you have to be okay, if you're a fan, with a 63-99 season.
Yeah.
Everybody threw a fit over that last season. And it cracks me up, because it's like, well, you said let the kids play, and that's what they did.
That's
right?
called rebuilding, right?
That's what they did. And, they said they wouldn't be competitive. Throw that out the window.
Right.
They let the kids play, and they ended up at 63-99. And so if you want to see the young guys make it to the major league level and work things out there, then you're going to have to be prepared for a very, very bad season, maybe a record-breaking franchise loss season, right? Like, you have to prepare yourself for that. So a couple quick thoughts here. Quick everydayer guide to the metrics that will help you evaluate a young player. Pay attention to their K percentage and their walk percentage, chase rate, hard hit percentage, the barrel rate, their defensive runs saved, if they're, in the infield or the outfield, and then encourage other fans to look beyond the average and the home run totals, because there's more than meets the eye than just those counting stats at the end of the day.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. You can find the show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels, and also at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show, get in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you, and you're going to want to do that. Why, Mike?
Because it's Fan Mail Friday. There's no game tonight. I don't know if that's good or bad. I like having a game.
Gives him time to fire Johnny Washington. He can
Perfect.
pack his bat and bring in somebody to fix this hitting.
Figure it out. Darren Erstad, what are you doing?
You go.
Tim Salmon, what are you doing? Fan Mail Friday tomorrow, and we would love to hear from you. Maybe give us your thoughts on when you would keep a player at the major league level versus sending them back down. Would you keep Matthew Lugo? Would you keep Kyron Paris? Would you send them back down? What pitchers would you bring up, and what pitchers would you allow to marinate in the minor leagues? Let's talk about all of that tomorrow. Get us your questions. Fan Mail Friday on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. Please send in your questions, your comments. We'd love to hear from you. You can also hit up our voicemail line with the phone number in the episode description as well. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday.
I can't believe they want Aaron Judge. I paid $25. I did the 4 for $40 to get here, and I paid to see it. And I've never been to New York, and I don't even know what Aaron Judge's last name is.